Hi, my name is Koller. I teach here at Drisha. This week is Parashat Chukat, which of course most famously starts off with the mitzvah, with the commandment of the Parah Adumah, the red cow which somehow magically purifies the impure and makes impure those who are used to be pure. The rest of the parasha has a whole series of small episodes, short paragraphs, intriguing, enigmatic little stories and narratives and even songs strung together in what seems to be a haphazard way. I'd like to focus on one little episode, one little anecdote that's buried in Parashat in chapter 20 of Bamidbar, when Moshe and Bnei Israel are in Kadesh, and they have the idea to go a quick route, a shortcut into Eretz Israel, into the Promised Land. So they send a message to the kings of Edom, the king of Edom, and say, listen, your brother Israel, Ko amar achicha Yisrael, ataya data et kol tzla'ah asher mitza'atnu. You know all of the trouble that's befallen us, and they tell in short version, two psukim, a quick history of their time in Egypt, what the Egyptians did to them, and the Exodus. And they say, look, now we're finally out. We don't want to hurt you. We don't want to take anything away from you. Just let us pass through your territory. We won't drink the water. We won't touch the fields or the vineyards. We'll follow the king's highway, turning not right or left until we've crossed your territory. And that way we'll get to our land, the land of Canaan, to where we want to be. But Edom says, no. Very brusquely, very briskly. Push them off. Lo tavor bi pen b'cherev etzei lekratecha. You won't cross my land or I'll meet you with the sword. And Bnei Israel, the Israelites, respond, again, very politely, almost overly polite. Please, we won't do anything. We won't cause you any damage whatsoever. All we want to do is get through. We'll even pay you for any damage that we may cause on the way. And again, Edom says, absolutely not. Lo tavor. Lo tavor. That's it. That's the entire message they send back. Vayetze Edom lekrato ba'am kaved uviyad chazaka. And just to make their message clear, they come out with a large army, apparently heavily armed, prepared to fight to not let Israel cross their territory. Now, this might remind us of another episode. Of course, Israel is here dealing with Edom. Edom, the descendants of Esav. And when we think back to the last time that Yaakov, not Bnei Israel, but Israel himself, tried to come back to the land of Canaan, he also was met with Esav. He knew he would have to get through Esav in order to get back to Canaan. And again, he sent messengers. Yaakov sent messengers in front of him to see what's Esav going to do. How is Esav going to greet him? Back there, all the way back in Parashat Vayishlach, Edom, Esav, also tells Yaakov, not so fast, I'm coming to meet you. I'm coming to meet you with swords, 400 men, heavily armed. And Yaakov gets very worried. So how am I ever going to get to the land of Canaan if I have to get through Esav? Esav's not going to let me pass. In that story, though, the tension is diffused. Somehow, Yaakov wins over Esav. Esav, although he came with 400 heavily armed men, embraces Yaakov and says, come, you come to the land. Esav moves over to the eastern side of the Jordan River, in essence taking himself out of the covenantal community of Israel, and allowing Yaakov to inherit the land of Canaan. But now when the story is redone, we might have thought that was the end. We might have thought that Yaakov and Esav the story had reached its resolution. There was a question as to which brother would control destiny, which brother would be the heir to Yitzchak, and Yaakov won. Esav stepped aside, Esav let Yaakov go into Canaan, and Yaakov now lives in Canaan. But now when they have to do it again, the story is replayed. The story takes place one more time. Edom doesn't say, well, I know from my grandfather, I know from my ancestors that of course Canaan is yours and you should feel welcome there and I'll just move aside and let you in. On the contrary, Edom says, Lo ta'avor, there's no way I'm letting you in. Once again, Edom / Esav is standing in Yaakov's way in order to get to the Promised Land, in order to get to Canaan. There's much that can be said, that can be thought about the fact that the story is redone with a very different ending. Certainly, 2 points come to mind that seem to be worth thinking about. One is that the animosity is never over. That this conflict between Yaakov and Esav, which seemed to have reached a resolution already back in Bereshit, in fact continues. And in fact, Israel and Edom, the descendants of Yaakov and Esav, continue to be enemies, to be neighbors with tense relations for centuries to come. The second thing is, the second point to ponder, is that Yaakov doesn't push through. Bnei Israel don't say, Moshe doesn't say to Edom, look, I don't care what you say. You might come out with an Amrav, Yad Chazakah, but who really is the Yad Chazakah? We just told you, God will help us, God will help us along, we can fight you, and we'll fight our way through. Moshe says, okay, look, if you're not going to let us through, we're not going to force the point. We're not going to push the point. We'll find another way. So those 2 points strike me in the story as we see this continuation of a story that began in Breshit and seems to continue rippling throughout Tanakh. Shabbat Shalom.